Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we've got a truly fascinating breakdown lined up for you. We're going to dive deep into the mechanics of a modern digital heist, specifically focusing on a dark corner of the internet known as carding. We'll look at exactly how these cybercriminals operate, the hidden security tripwires they have to constantly dodge, and ultimately, we're going to reveal a massive plot twist regarding who the real victims of these scams actually are. It is a really compelling look at the digital black market, so let's jump right in. Here is a quick roadmap of what we'll be covering today. First, what carding is, then decoding credit card secrets, bypassing digital security, the cybercriminal toolkit, the anatomy of a hack, and finally, the ultimate scam revealed.
All right, let's start with Section 1. What is carding? Demystifying the digital black market.
So at its core, what actually is carding? Well, the source material defines it as a very specific form of fraud. It's the process where stolen credit or debit card data is utilized to buy prepaid cards, store brand gift cards, or physical items. The whole endgame here is to resell those goods or gift cards for untraceable cash. The individuals who actually perform these illegal activities are known as carders. You see, they aren't usually hacking bank accounts directly to transfer funds. Instead, they're laundering stolen credit lines through retail purchases. And honestly, this is exactly why you might hear those stories about scammers desperately trying to buy hundreds of dollars in Apple gift cards. It's all part of the laundering process.
Moving right along to Section 2, decoding credit card secrets, the targets, and their specs.
Everything in this world starts with the BIN, or Bank Identification Number. These are simply the first 6 digits of any credit or debit card. Now, carders don't just blindly use stolen numbers, they're incredibly calculated about it. They take those first 6 digits and they run them through specific BIN databases. This lookup instantly reveals the card's brand, the bank that issued it, whether it's a debit or a credit card, and most importantly, its level or tier. They're looking for the exact specs of the card before they even attempt to hack a checkout system.
And they're doing this because hackers are specifically hunting for high-value targets. As you can guess, the tiers vary wildly. Based on our source data, a Visa Platinum generally carries a limit of over $10,000, an American Express Black Card that can push past $75,000, and a MasterCard World Elite can essentially be limitless. Carders use that BIN to pinpoint these top-tier cards because the potential payout is just massively higher compared to your standard classic tier card.
But here is a really fascinating reality check from the source data. Let's take that Visa Black Card for example. It carries a $500 annual fee just to maintain it. This detail is absolutely crucial because it completely debunks a massive myth floating around on the dark web. Scammers will often post ads claiming they'll sell you a limitless Visa Black Card for a mere $5,000. But think about it for a second. If someone actually has a limitless card that costs $500 a year just to hold, why on earth would they sell it to a total stranger for just $5 grand? They wouldn't. It's a trap. Which brings us to Section 3, bypassing digital security and the invisible tripwires. In the eyes of a hacker, there are basically 2 distinct categories of cards: VBV, which stands for Verified by Visa, and non-VBV. Now, VBV cards have this extra layer of security bolted right on. If a carder tries to use one, the checkout system will suddenly ask for a one-time password, like those 6-digit texts you get from your bank, or maybe a date of birth or a mother's maiden name, and that instantly kills the hack. Because of this, carders actively hunt for non-VBV cards, which conveniently bypass those extra verification steps during an online transaction.
But even if they manage to score a non-VBV card, they still have to face the AVS, the Address Verification System. This is arguably the biggest hurdle for a carder. Think about it. If a hacker is sitting in country X, but the stolen card is registered to an address in country Y, the AVS will instantly flag the mismatch and block the transaction. The online store system basically says, wait a minute, why is someone from halfway across the world trying to use this local card?
And that leads us perfectly into Section 4, the Cybercriminal Toolkit, gearing up for the hack.
To actually pull this off, carders have to go to some pretty extreme technical lengths. They rely on a very specific toolkit. They always start with a secure computer because mobile devices simply aren't secure enough for this kind of work. Then they'll use RDPs, or remote desktop protocols, along with SOC 5 proxies. These essentially act as digital masks to relocate their IP address to the victim's exact city. They also use MAC address changers to disguise their actual physical computer hardware, CCleaner to wipe all cookies and temporary files, and anti-detect browsers like FraudFox to completely spoof their digital fingerprint. This entire super complex setup is required just to fake the cardholder's location and device history. It's crazy.
So what happens when the digital hack actually works and a physical item needs to be shipped? I mean, a carder obviously can't ship a stolen laptop right to their own front door. That's where drop services come into play. Instead of using their own address, they use third-party agents or compromised addresses located within the victim's target country. These drops receive the fraudulently purchased goods and then discreetly forward them to the carder, completely keeping the criminal's true physical location hidden from law enforcement.
Now let's look at Section 5, the anatomy of a hack and the execution.
Let's watch how this actually plays out step by step. The hacker begins by connecting to a network that precisely matches the victim's local time zone and city, purely to fool the ABS. With their location successfully spoofed, they then completely scrub their device clean and change their hardware identity to look like a brand new user. After that, they lock in a secure proxy to ensure their IP isn't going to get blacklisted. And finally, and I think this is a super fascinating detail from the source, they manually type the credit card details into the checkout. You see, a lot of e-commerce sites use these anti-bot scripts that will instantly flag copy and paste behavior as fraudulent. So the hacker literally has to type it out the old-fashioned way. The whole process is just incredibly tedious and calculated.
Now, to ensure all this tedious setup actually pays off, carders follow a very strict rule of thumb. They keep first-time fraudulent transactions under $400. Think about your own experiences. If a brand new device suddenly tries to charge 10 grand for a luxury watch on your card, bank algorithms and law enforcement flags are going to go off instantly. You've probably experienced something similar if you've ever had your own card frozen trying to make an unusually large purchase while traveling, right? So by keeping that initial hit under $400, they attempt to just fly completely under the radar.
But here is where our explainer takes a massive turn. Welcome to Section 6, the ultimate scam revealed, where the predator becomes the prey.
Because despite all those proxies, the elaborate toolkits, and the highly calculated rules, the reality of this black market is absolutely staggering. Our sources indicate that a massive 90% of carding attempts result in either outright failure or the carder themselves getting scammed. Only about 10% of attempts actually succeed. The harsh reality of the digital black market is that it's fundamentally designed to feed on naive, inexperienced people who are just looking to make a quick, illegal buck.
The source explicitly notes that those cheap stolen cards you might see advertised for, say, 20 or 50 bucks on forums or Telegram are almost always dead cards. They've already been drained. And it gets worse. If a wannabe carder tries to use an online tool to check if a card is live, well, 80% of those verification sites are actually traps set by other hackers. The very second you type the card details in to check the balance, the site's backdoor script instantly steals whatever money might be left. Your crypto goes in to buy the tools, and you literally get nothing back but an empty promise.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. In the hunt for easy digital money, who is really getting played? The complex mechanics of carding aren't just a threat to everyday consumers like us. They form this massive predatory ecosystem where the so-called masterminds are usually just scamming the amateur criminals who are trying to buy into the game. It's a brilliant reminder that in the digital underworld, there's absolutely no honor among thieves. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this breakdown was as fascinating for you as it was for me.